Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It's our honor to present you today Liberato Bautista, the President of CoNGO, and Cyril Ritchie, First Vice President. Normally, we have the online interviews on the WSIS Stocktaking platform, but this time it's our first experience to do it offline, live interview. It's our pleasure to see you today here with WSIS team, so it's really welcome for civil society here. So the first question will be, what are the objectives of CoNGO? Why CoNGO? Sometimes there is a confusion with CoNGO as the country. So how could you explain that?
Well, firstly, thank you very much for having me and having us here. The pleasure is equally mine and ours to be able to share with you what CoNGO is, especially as we evolve the partnership with ITU with respect to the WSIS process. CoNGO is built on the idea that collective action among civil society players, for that matter, the organized sector in it, which is the non-governmental organizations, is important if we are to make an impact on the not only on the emergent but on the lingering issues about which the United Nations was founded. So you can imagine that since 1948, when CoNGO was organized, it was already an NGO that pioneered the notion of access, that NGOs having been identified by the United Nations Charter as an important stakeholder in the consultation, in the consultative process, that CoNGO over the years, for more than 60 years now, has evolved to be a worthy interlocutor with the United Nations in terms of presencing NGOs in significant United Nations and multilateral discussions. It therefore plays a facilitating role for that presence at the United Nations, so that NGO perspectives and voices with respect to substantive issues be heard, and not only heard, but that they contribute to the political thinking process that happens at the UN. That's not always an automatic move on the part of the primary players at the United Nations. The facilitating and presencing of NGOs is an ongoing campaign within NGOs.
Exactly. Thank you, Mr. Liberato. So what is the structure of CoNGO? How does CoNGO function?
It does not function as a country. That's why CoNGO
Yeah,
is not
it's
the
different,
country.
So how you can describe the mechanism of working?
Yes. If CoNGO, the Conference of Non-Governmental Organizations, in consultative relationship with the United Nations, with the acronym CoNGO, and of course, when you say CoNGO, every once in a while we say it's not the country.
Exactly.
And if I have my way, especially because CoNGO has not done nothing wrong to the Conference of NGOs, why do we have to keep denying something that is not associated with the name? If I had my way, I would rather that it's pronounced co-NGO. Okay. And as a matter of principles, we are co-NGOs together in many of the ways we operate. And the structure of CoNGO is built in such a way that you have a central decision-making body that meets every 3 years, which is the CoNGO General Assembly, and that's made up of all of the full members coming together with the right to vote. We have associate members. These are NGOs that have associated the relationship with the United Nations, mainly through the Department of Public Information, but also other NGOs that have been accredited through the United Nations conferences that have a separate accreditation process. WSIS, for example, has its own accreditation
Exactly.
process. So an NGO that has been admitted in a WSIS process could qualify as an associate member of CoNGO if it did not already have a full consultative relationship. But on substantive issues, CoNGO has another layer of leadership, and that is the substantive committees. And those substantive committees are spread across New York, Geneva, and Vienna, where a preponderant number of our NGOs operate from, and they are the ones that deal with the substantive issues, and they are the ones that interface with the United Nations units that deal with those issues. We have an NGO Committee on Status of Women. They relate to the Commission Status of Women and many other, women and gender units of UN organizations.
Okay, thank you. But to be more clear, what is the link between CoNGO and Ecosoc? Just briefly, one sentence.
CoNGO has two members, as I said, and one are the NGOs that have consultative relationship with the United Nations. Ecosoc is the one that deals with non-governmental organizations in consultative relationship. They shepherd the process by which NGOs are able to get consultative process by staffing the work of the NGO committee of Ecosoc. So most of the NGOs that have consultative relationship and are full members of CoNGO are the NGOs that have gone through that process with Ecosoc.
Okay, thank you. What is the scope of CoNGO activities? It's really broad, yes?
Because, as you heard, CoNGO's prime function relates firstly to the United Nations entire system, and Ecosoc in the first case being the body that accords consultative status. We focus very heavily on helping to ensure that NGOs, as one of the stakeholders in governing the world, have access to the United Nations at every level. And access, of course, means both physical access, getting into meetings and getting into conferences, but also, as important, if not more so, political access, that the voice of NGOs will be heard by the governments. So, in a sense, all that we do tries to ensure that those two levels of access are open, are understood, do not suffer from attempts to restrict them, and are indeed, on the other hand, constantly expanded. And one of the most interesting things about the existence of CoNGO covering the entire range of United Nations interests is that we identify where there is good practice on the part of any part of the UN system, one agency, one unit, one department, one conference, and endeavour to ensure that that good practice is then applied elsewhere, so that NGOs have the fullest possible opportunity to influence the debate. One of the things we frequently say is that government output will be better if they have competent NGO input. We try to help ensure that input comes.
Okay, thank you. How can you answer to this question? How can you define CoNGO's role in this process?
Well, I think the discussion that we have had so far in terms of the participation of CoNGO, the more than 600 members of CoNGO, ranging from general, special to roster status, gives you the width and breadth of the participation of civil society within the CoNGO fold in the manifold events and the use of ICT. And therefore, there is a richness from within CoNGO that we are able to offer to the WSIS process. And that participation is not devoid of earlier practice, because as you very well know, from the start of the WSIS process, even prior to Tunis, we were already there as a partner. And so we're building on that good practice, and so I think with humility and yet with pride, we offer the rich resource of this more than 600 NGO members of Congo and the richness of their expertise.
And how do you think that Congo can strengthen and enhance this collaboration?
The very fact that civil society is given an institutional mechanism to be able to interface with the WSIS process is very laudable. And that, I think, is the main factor that will enhance WSIS. I think the integrity of any multilateral process, if it did not include an important pillar, civil society, will always be put into question, precisely because, and especially because civil society is most widespread everywhere around the world. There may be places where even government does not function, and yet there's civil society, and therefore the reach and the expertise of NGO worldwide is something that we offer, and it will enhance the WSIS process.
Okay, thank you. And how do you see the future of Congo? Will it be expanded more? What do you expect in the future?
The future of Congo.
Exactly.
We are
this organization of this body.
We are just a little over 3 months into the Congo General Assembly in the middle of January, and building on a theme that I have been addressing in the last 3 years, which is defining the present, shaping the future. We are in the process of consolidating even more the expertise of NGOs, and as Mr. Ritchie has mentioned, a consolidation of its expertise will be necessary. So in the lead up to the General Assembly of Congo, which is in the middle of January, we certainly are exploring ways of re-examining our mandate, even reimagining what access means. There's a pool of resources, and a very rich one at that, among the Congo members. But in a situation where there is a shrinking political space, not only at the United Nations but in other multilateral forums, on one hand, but there is, on the other hand, there is also an increasing recognition of the role that NGOs play. Congo, I hope, will be able to make the case for why civil society is a necessary pillar, and one that must not be excluded, but one that must be increasingly included. So, in a way, it's going back to the original reason for being of Congo, but going back precisely because of the shrinking political space. The ITU's initiative and the WSIS processes initiative to include us in that mechanism augurs well in the future, not only for Congo, but precisely for multilateral institutions and civil society collaboration.
Thank you very much for this answer, and thank you for this interview. We wish you good luck for your organization, and have a nice day.
Most welcome. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you very much.